and they ara ko te Kawerau Amaki. We're fortunate to live in the rohe of te Kawerau Amaki and to be able to support their aspirations for returning to a pest-free Waitakere. I was talking with them the other day and saying they're doing a 1,000-year plan at the moment, and nice. I love that type of thinking, so I'm really interested to think about how we here at STNN, but also as a group, how we think about what we can do now to support that 1,000-year plan as well. So my name's Kate Lowe, this is Bruce. I'm fortunate enough to be paid a small amount of money, one of the only paid people at STNN to support what is actually a really community and voluntary led initiative that started in 2016, and it's about neighbours helping neighbours to really go pest-free and to regenerate the South Titirangi Peninsula area. And what we do is, so we're about being pest-free, we're about being weed-free, and we're also collaborating at Green Bay Primary School around a nursery as well. So can I just get these other STN people, can you just stand up really quickly? And yeah, Tony, Gabriel and Doro, who are also a core part of our team as well, so thank you. Right, Bruce.
Okay, so yeah, I'm one of the co-chairs for the project. So what we did about 2 years ago, we started to have the idea of looking at seeing if we could do a suppression project throughout our whole area, which is marked out in the red, see if this thing's going to work after that. So that's the township, the boundary, and we go right out through to Wood Bay and back around and up through the little muddy, through where Megan is, and the boundary with Waimatalima effectively. So South Titirangi Road, we're here. So we costed that at that stage, and that was going to be about 200 grand to have contractors. So we got Liz Bell involved, who's done a lot of that pest suppression projects throughout the world in different islands and things, and got her to look at what we wanted to do and came up with the idea of going for a 100 by 100 metre baiting station centred project with as many tracks as we could get involved as well outside of the 4 pulsing periods of the year, and that would be run by volunteers, neighbours, and at that stage that looked like pie in the sky and how we were going to actually even be able to fund that. So that just sat on the back burner, and then we decided recently, with Kate's help, next slide, to just do a trial area. So we looked at the whole of the peninsula, and we've been running through TrackNZ with our data management for the last 2-3 years, Tony? 3 years probably we've been running TrackNZ. We were using EcoTrack before that, but they found TrackNZ a better model. And came up with the bottom of South Titirangi Road as having a good mix of households, so there's about 80, 90 households in that area, and reserves. There's Tamariki Reserve, Arama Reserve, there's the whole coastal reserve system around the edge, there's another one here. So it gave a mix for us to have a trial in, and we didn't have any idea really about what would happen in terms of community engagement, how that would go.
We felt really anxious to be totally
Felt really anxious about how that would happen. What the response would be, you know, positive or negative. So we did a huge amount, we just picked roads, did flyers, went to everybody, had weekends of people in the group just going around and seeing everybody, and for the people that we saw, we had amazing feedback of probably 95% support, which was really, really encouraging. So we collected up that, worked out who was willing to be involved. and then mapped out our 100 by 100 metre grid with this collection here is a 25 by 25 metre buffer zone, which is, suggested was a good way to try to...
Effectively a fence,
yeah.
kind of...
And the other thing we added, so we've got our 100 by 100 metre grid in here, roughly, depending on the household involvement. A lot of it is running through road corridors and reserves. We're not in the back of people's properties. That was just a bit too hard of a basket to do with people. And so we also thought about the coastline and the invasion through there. So we've got 10 Pied Pipers, which are along the base station with multi-blocks in. And so we've got those around the coastline, so they're getting looked at less often. So we have a contractor that is going in, and we've just finished a pulse now on Wednesday, the first pulse.
Should I bring that up actually?
And so that has been 4 fills and 1 empty. And so we've actually employed it's been someone within the project that we employed, because we went back out to the businesses that we looked at 2 years ago, and the cost to do that area was astronomical.
Yeah, it was up to 300k by the time we went back to do that whole area.
The whole work would have been
more.
300k.
So we managed to scrape together, with a whole bunch of voluntary work and a bit of money and some funding, we managed to scrape together to do this trial. Yeah. And this is the results.
Yeah, so this is the result. So we used contract for our first knockdown, which, because we started later, we would normally use that in August as your knockdown, and then use diclofenac through the other 3 pulses. So we use contract, which is bromelain. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. And we went through about 8.5 kilos a day. And so we conservatively estimate that we've taken out 700 rats and mice. We've got 5 possum traps throughout those areas, and we've had 5 possums taken out. We will be, we've got 3 monitoring lines through the area, 1 around the coast, 2 through the guts of it. We'll be doing a monitoring run this week, so I don't have any feedback on that yet.
We're also doing photos of the landscape over time to see changes in the trees and bird monitoring as well.
Yeah, we've got 3 bird monitoring sites in the area.
Yeah.
1 on the coast, and we'll do questions in a bit.
Yeah. So we'll jump to the... So in terms of next steps, our vision is to roll it out, right? So that site, that little triangle, is a great example of what our overall site is like. There's a bit of residential, bit of reserve, bit of coast. That's part of why we chose it. But it's only 1/20th of our South Titirangi area, so we want to incrementally keep on rolling out. So this is a year trial, and obviously it's based on the methodology used successfully in Miramar and stuff. So we hope that it's going to be successful, and the community engagement is telling us that. And we just plan to keep on going, and I guess support and mentor and support other groups around us as well. I mean, Waimalingham, you're already on the way anyway, like you're already doing it, but just keep on providing that support as we go. So you've got to drop money in here really at the end of the day, but part of what we're trying to do too is, with the amount of money that it costs to do this, and being in a community that actually has quite a lot, our median wage is actually quite high, What we really want to do is get to a stage where there's part funding coming through from the community. We think that it's about it's around the $300 mark per household per year to actually be as predator free as we can in an urban environment. And so if anyone wants to donate today, that's our donation, but also just going forward, we're really thinking about how we can activate and engage the community around this. We have incredible volunteers that really work their butts off in our group, and we're always looking for more volunteers who can be actively involved. And we have a real vision as we roll out that this will be about community jobs for locals, and so thinking about that local economy as well as we do it. So yeah, to watch this space in March. After we finish our second pulse, we're going to be reviewing it about 6 months in, and that's when we'll really start to step back and look at what's going on in the landscape and what our next steps might be.
Yeah, and whether we, part of the idea is that if we do the trial and that we're having some outcomes of that we might be able to plug into some of the bigger funding models and be able to roll it out. And the other thing about, with our person who's going around doing all the pulsing, is that they're just getting ongoing contact and community engagement as well. So we're having an uptake of people all the time with their presence. And we've got a big sign up now too down in the area, at the start of the area.
Yeah, thanks to council for that.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of good support from council with all of the coastal equipment and bait that's been funded through the parks, through Kim Morris. Which has been great to have that support from them.
But having the time, one of the challenges in our group is having the time to say mentor. You're talking about this, you've got some keen guys in your area, and it's having the time to, rather than just doing it yourself and really busy, but to mentor them and get them doing their stuff.
Tapping into that enthusiasm.
There's a growth of enthusiasm, which is really exciting. And one other thing that we're looking at just related to this is an integrated weed management plan, so collaborating around council and community and other key stakeholders in mana whenua to look at weeds as well, and maybe integrate that into this because it makes it more manageable if we're looking at a sort area that we roll out. So anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah, so just I'll post, the other thing is that it's suppression, like what it said up there, we're going for suppression 5%.
Yeah, we can't go predator free because we're in a mainland, but that's as good as we can get. 95% reduction in these pest animals is where we can see the taiao kind of start to return and thrive, so that's really exciting. Anyway, any questions? And please, Tony, Doro, Gabriel, Mark,
Peter,
if you want to ask.
So you said a 5%, that 5% residual level. How are you measuring that?
Well, that will be through the monitoring, like I was saying. So we've got 30 monitoring tunnels, in-car tunnels, throughout the area, around the border and through a couple and 20 within.
And you're counting how many rats go through each tunnel? How are you doing that?
We're doing on an pad, so it's tracking, so it's the tracks. So whether you've got, rats and whether there's, it's hard to discern whether that's one rat coming out all the time or, but you're seeing whether there's rats or mice and, possums are even reaching in and trying to get in the on some of the tracking times.
So we've got baseline data from the monitoring, but Bruce, we've just done the first lot of monitoring post, so we're just waiting to see the results of that.
Won't happen until Tuesday.
And we'll also be watching the rat and mice decline as well as we go down. Hopefully.
And and with bait uptake as well, once as we go through each pulse, hopefully we'll see a decline in bait uptake. It'll probably stay pretty constant through the buffer zone, possibly. But hopefully within, and also the tracking, we have had support through Predator Free New Zealand with tunnels the wooden tunnels and victors. So there were people that were interested to take those with the provisos that we had the data coming back through TNC, but it's hard getting people to do that. So
we gave out 32 households,
yeah.
but we've only got a couple going to TNZ, and we keep on encouraging people, and now we're trying to do a prize draw, but that's one of the challenges, is that data. Nonetheless, the project should be successful off the baiting, but the trapping would be really great if we could see that motivate.
Yeah, and if we can get those things all tuned up, and the people that are already presently doing it, you know, there's a lot of people doing stuff, but not actually plugging into that, so it's trying to get people to understand, educate people about that, but really that data is really important. It's important for us to progress, it's important for us to know what's going on.
Yeah, I completely agree on its importance. In the ranges itself, the council had a 2% RTC, so a 2 residual count. Now they seem to be measuring DNA in streams as a measure.
Streams, what do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know.
What does that mean?
I put a look at one of their plans and I can see that they're measuring DNA, so I don't know how that's a measure of quantity as opposed to quantity.
I can answer that. It's eDNA, so it'll pick up traces of what is in the stream. So if you have possums living upstream, they shed DNA.
Yeah.
And so you can pick up that. But it's not, I don't think it's quantitative.
No,
It's just presence. Yeah.
And that's something to include. That's, I guess, the point of having a trial, is we can include some of these new kind of methodologies as well into it. Any other questions you asked me?
Yeah, I was just wondering why you have a mixture of bait stations and traps. You know, like are those existing traps, and have you included people's existing traps at all? And one more thing, you can answer the whole lot, about mustelids and stoats. Are they covered by the bait?
We do. Well, it is when it's contract, because you've got a potential secondary strike, not with the bifascinone because it's West generation. We've caught 4 stoats over the last 3 years around, because we've got Dock 200s, like we've got 2 big lines running right up through here, up through the zigzag. Yeah. So we've got 24 sites, 24 docks through that area, which is probably a bit of overkill, but that's been that's rats and stoats. Yeah.
So the emphasis is on rats and mice because that's the greatest predator and the greatest kind of potential for change here. Yeah. But we are, and the reason we just answered your other question, the reason we chose that site was because we have about 803 active kind of stations and traps in our area on TrackNZ. So we actually have really decent coverage, almost up to that 100 mega grid spacing already, if it was spread properly. But it wasn't necessarily systematic, and we chose that bit of land because we didn't have massive uptake there, so we wanted it to be, I guess, we wanted to see the effectiveness of the trial to the greatest extent, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so, stoats and ferrets, they're definitely part of it, but they're not as core to, it's the rats and mice that our big is.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that, you suppress the rats, you are having a suppression on the stoats.
Yeah, because of the
Well, did it? Yeah, again. The calculation of 8 kilos for 700 or 640 of your rats and mice, is that the manufacturer gives you that
It's
calculation?
actually more, well, potentially a 28 gram block of contract potentially can take out 4.9 rats and 3.2 mice. So it's pretty conservative.
And David, our project manager, has calculated that as a very conservative number. Based on that. Yeah, we think it's probably up around 1,000, but it's just been really conservative. Yeah.
And there was anecdotally feedback of rat steers around the area
Yes.
for the first fill or two. Quite a few dead rats around,
Yeah.
which we were encouraging people to pick up and
And
get
put
rid
in
of
the rubbish.
because of that, because it's contract.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yep, and
How have you usually found vibration? Any resistance?
there's no, well, it's been really good. I mean, there have been some people that haven't wanted to be a part of it.
But it's less than a hand.
Yeah.
We've door knocked 90 households, every household in the area. And I think out of the people that, not everyone that doesn't take part, it's because of the baiting, sometimes it's privacy. So there's probably a handful of people that decline to take part, and a couple of them are for privacy reasons, and one of them was an ecologist that doesn't like killing things in that way, in the bait station way, the humanitarian aspect of it, but is supportive nonetheless of the project, and the other person doesn't like the impact of rats on baiting. Yeah.
So those that decline for privacy, are they given the opportunity to track themselves?
Yeah, every time, yeah. And I think we actually have had someone that originally said no, kind of come on. I think that's the way that projects build, And what we've done strategically is we've got those pest-free stickers, and we've put them on every letterbox that's participating. And visually, if you go down Arama Ave, which is our buffer zone, you can see them everywhere, and people tend to want to pick up. So I just go back to your question, because I feel like I haven't answered. On the baiting, we were very anxious about it. We wrote a 3-page FAQs. We were so anxious, particularly in the wake of some of the big things that have happened recently in our community. I'm not even going to mention, because I don't want to go there right now. But there's been a lot of challenges about top-down things and poisons and stuff like that. And we were really worried that the 1080 thing might rise up and people might think it was a drop. So we emphasised really clearly that actually when it came down to it, when people see someone in the community door knocking and see the enthusiasm and the fact that this TNN had been around for 7 years, when we door knocked, we almost always, people knew who we were, and I think that that's a real factor. It gave a kind of opening. Don't you think, Mark? Because Mark and Tony, we did a lot of door knocking, and it was, people knew a lot of the time, and Mark in particular lives on Arama Ave. And so he was like, hi neighbour, can you take part? And that makes a difference. People know people. And so I think, while it wasn't necessarily intentional these years prior, that we were leading up to this moment, like a kind of like plan, in actual fact, all those years of working and building up the networks has really paid off for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can I just ask what cost was being?
Okay, it's not that. It's not that. We don't want anyone to get the idea that it's this cheap to do it, and that's the thing. So we can I can. Is it okay if I give? It's around under 20,000. Okay, but my time is separate from that. We've got a comms person that works 10 hours a week, and we have.
And there's all
how many hours do you guys all put in each week? I mean, it's...
And looking at the actual contract prices, they were more than twice that. And whether that's a reflection of thinking, we're going to be dealing with an urban area, we're not just going into a block of bush where we can just march in, do our lines, blah, blah, no interaction.
Yeah, so 50k was what we were quoted for doing this work. So I think there's a bit of a, so to answer your question, yes, you can do it really cheaply, but you have to have the right conditions, which is a bunch of really enthusiastic people. And also, when it's locally done, it's less costly than the large organisations, and we hope to keep it lean as we roll out, but definitely don't think that it's just for 18 hectares, it's 20, like it is.
I'll be highlighting that it would cost 50,000.
Yeah. But I think we get,
cost 50.
But I think we get greater outcomes. We pay our contractor really well, and we get really good outcomes, I think, if we're having that local pipeline.
And that, like I was saying before about, because they're willing to interact with anybody.
Yes.
Whereas, maybe you wouldn't get that with the contractors being in there. So there's those ongoing conversations and getting people involved at whatever level.
Yeah, for anyone that is
Oh,
about,
yellow card.
oh, yellow card. For anyone that
What
is
is that in
about,
5 minutes?
no, we've got a bit more time.
Yeah.
Anyone that is thinking of doing the same, adding time, especially in that first thing, to your contractor to talk to people is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it that you're really trying to get people to do it themselves as well? That was a question.
Not for the baiting.
Not
no.
the baiting, because you really want to have that functioning properly and making sure that you are getting it loaded and getting, especially once we go into the difacinope, because you need to have that 4 or 5 feeds to get the lethal dose. So you've really got to make sure the bait's in there, and people have all good intentions, but then it's where or they get
We need to
busy
keep
or whatever.
safe too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to see the track being more activated. Anyway, it's clearly our time to finish, so we'll